All right. Well, welcome everybody to the final pitch day of the Eyesight Fall 2017 cohort. Yeah, baby. When these kids started this program, I didn't think they stood a chance of graduating. And now here I am, teary-eyed, looking at them like doves, leaving our hands and going forth. It's just beautiful. So anyway, it's been fun. This is our third cohort. So we're only on, we had our first full year of this stuff. We sort of mixed it up this year too, I'll tell you about that. So a little over a year ago, we got a grant from the National Science Foundation, federal money, to help run a program like this. And we are actually a regional program, so we're kind of a rare grantee. Because it's not just given to one school, it's administered through RPI, but we also include Siena, SUNY, Skidmore, and sort of the greater capital region. We've had people from Catskill and Coalskill and all over the place, regular citizens of the Capital District, not affiliated with universities and stuff like that. So all kinds of walks of life. Most of the money for this program comes from the National Science Foundation. However, we got some money from AT&T. So thank you, AT&T. It was wonderful. Wonderful. NSF sort of, it's government money. They have some restrictions. So one of the restrictions being the National Science Foundation is they want to see teams that are doing something scientific. That's their name, so they like to fund scientific things. For teams that aren't terribly scientific, or we can't stretch the truth enough to make them scientific, there's AT&T, ladies and gentlemen, so that's pretty good. So everybody gets some cash out of this deal, so it's a good thing. And the teams, they use the money to go off and discover if their idea actually has legs. Can this idea be hammered into something that looks like a company that's standalone? And the goal is to help smart, energetic people learn some techniques and tools to try to take ideas to commercial success. We only do part of the journey. We're trying to give you guys tools, you in the class, give you as many tools as you need to hopefully go forth. Plus, we're always here as resources later. If you get stuck on something later down the road, 6 months, a year after this, we have some alums in the room right now even. So, we're always available to help you guys out. Picture of a cute little guinea pig. I was trying to get some O's and A's. So next time, I'm just going to foreshadow. Next time you see a small furry mammal, I want you to go, oh, all right? It just makes it's good for me. I need it. Anyway, guinea pig is because you guys were the guinea pigs this time. We changed the format. So the last 2 times, we ran a 10-week program where we met 8 different times, lots of other touch points in between. We shrunk it in half. So this was a 5-week program. So it was, I think, more intense. You went through a program before. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways to the new format. Put you on the spot. Customer discovery right here.
I think that it almost killed these kids in 5 weeks.
5 weeks is tough.
It was intense.
It's really trying to get all that stuff done in 5 weeks' time is tough. Again, we did it over 10 weeks before. So, but that sometimes there's logistics problem with that too, because God, when's this thing going to end, man? I got so much. But yeah, going the intense route. What do you think? Thoughts on that?
It was definitely more intense.
Yeah.
Especially because I actually participated this time.
Yeah.
I think it was good because at least there's a chunk of time that you need to carve out.
That you have to carve out.
It's hard to carve out 10 weeks.
Yeah, and we try to do it sort of earlier in the semester, so maybe it's the end of October and we're done. So, we'll see. We're always learning, so keep
Just a comment compared to like the workshop we had in California, which was also the same thing.
Yeah.
This was a lot of work, but it was much more enjoyable because there was much less harassment. And like the workshop was good because there was a lot of like in-your-face harassment and
Yeah. That's the harassment that she's talking about is typical of the National Science Foundation, and I guess it's being recorded. But anyway, they
I'm on the record. That's good kind of harassment.
Yeah, but they make it. It's tough love, man. They make it so you guys go out, talk to customers, do it now, and it's intense. And if you don't do it, you're kicked out. So they have a little more money in the national program too. We'll talk about that. Anyway, yeah, you guys are the guinea pigs. Thanks for doing that. The whole point is, like years ago, NSF adopted a new methodology to help reduce the risk for companies, to help de-risk companies, to make it so that, it's not so risky to start and to go grab some money. Our program sort of mimics what the National Science Foundation program does. Two nationals. Anyway, when you start a company, there's all kinds of risks. There's people risk. We try to reduce the risk for the people because we try to give you some tools and to give you some tips and pointers and things like that. There's technology risk. In this sort of program, we don't really help you reduce the technology risk that much, but as you develop your prototypes and things like that, that'll reduce that. Finance risk. We try to infuse you guys with some sort of financial logic to say, okay, is this too financially risky for an investor to put money in? And then market risk. Is this thing going to be hot enough to actually withstand and I could have a standalone company? So our goal is to try to reduce all these risks, and I won't belabor this stuff, so that you can actually get to the point of getting National Science Foundation follow-on money, like federal grant money, and also investment money, because lots of companies need money when you first start off. It's really hard to bootstrap a company on your own wallet. So we try to de-risk it enough so that you're inside these thresholds of getting, say, federal grant money or getting investor money and things like that. So that is the point of this whole process. Oh, that was nice. Thanks. What a surprise. In just 5 short weeks, ladies and gentlemen, these teams have made significant progress towards commercialization. And why do I put a wolf? Because a wolf pup after 5 weeks is weaned. And yes. So you guys, like the wolf pup, are awkward looking with large feet, and you're ill-suited to survive in the wild on your own, but yet you're done. You're going to go out, go forth. Still a lot of growth that's needed, but you'll be eating antelope soon, So you're not.
Just for the record, too, they're actually quite cute, yeah.
They are quite cute, too. You guys, that's why I was thinking of it. So we have teams from wind to fire. We have teams from beer apps to apps of lip balm. That was a stretch. We have phase to fontaine. I mean, it's crazy, all these different things. Look at those wolves going crazy. Okay, so I'm giving you guys a 15-minute time limit. Everybody was wanting a 10-minute, but I give you 15. The timer back there is going to say 10, okay? We'll give you a little leeway. Try to do it quick, because people always appreciate a quick talk, right? Quick presentation. Here's the order. Wind team, lip balm, solar, hopper, heart disease or heart device, and then the fab phage at the end, okay? So, and write this down. Tell your friends. Sign up for this next semester if you want to. We run this every semester for fall and spring. May even do one in the summer, we're not sure, but rpi.edu/iCore, and you will find all the sign-up information for this. So, and don't be afraid, you guys can sign up again too if you want to do another project. You can't do the same project. Alrighty, any questions? Actually, before I turn it over to everybody else, I want to thank Richard and Kelly. Yeah. Guys, they made it all happen. We also have Matt Cusack from Siena. He's taught a few of these classes. He always tries to drum up people. Kathy Hill from Skidmore, and Rick Neff at SUNY. So these are our sort of campus reps trying to do the good work and try to get people in. So without further ado, let me call up the wind. I should have had theme music for you guys. Yeah, there's a clicker. It should work.
You should have told us. We would have a soundtrack.
I know. Ride like the wind. That's what it should put on. Ride like the wind. All right.
So we are the continuous fluid flow torque generator team. We are creating a device to use wind energy to create electricity. So our value proposition was we want to deliver a product to people that can help them supplement energy to their local grid networks and possibly get off the network. And we also wanted to create a product that's not like solar panels some people think are ugly. So we want to create a product that can be designed by an architect to infuse into the architecture of the building that they want to place it in. So this isn't a huge product, it's scalable, but we're trying to make it available for the residential people and people who don't have enough space to put an actual wind turbine or solar panels because they take a lot of space. So we're just trying to create a more efficient and a renewable source of energy that's for people both who want electricity because they want to lower their bill, and for people who want a renewable source of energy because they're ecologically conscious. So the problem we tried to solve was that most people currently view solar as the main source of renewable, and from our customer discovery we learned that that was the first thing they went to. They looked at solar and no one really thought about wind energy, even though there is plenty of wind energy available in the world. And another problem is that traditional renewable power is very expensive relatively, and people are usually turned away from renewable sources when they look at the cost. But our device, we tried to make it so it's going to be economically conscious as well and help people understand what the use of a cheap device, not cheap as in the build, but relatively cheaper than the renewable source of energy, so we can have some competition in the industry. So we looked at our target market and opportunities. So we did some research and found that in 2008, this is old data, but this was all we could find. There was a total of $103.8 million dollars of energy use for using the wind, and the price of the wind was $6 per watt, and we saw that there was a profit of $77 million in 2008, and we think we can have.
Would it be the version of this? 4 p.m. This is the old version.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. It's fine. We just go.
And so we think about we can take 2% of the profits would be good for a beginning company or a startup. And so the solution we think to the problems is a device we created called a continuous flow fluid torque generator, which can be used in fluids, so wind and water. So the premise of the device is that it uses an airfoil to create energy by producing low pressure winds over here, which increases the velocity, which in turn gives us better torque and creates energy using the torque.
So our revenue model, we have a couple of ways of purchasing it. The simplest one is just a upfront cost. Consumer buys the product, we deliver. The second one, leasing, is something we got a little inspiration from a company called Solar City, where they sell solar panels and they will lease you solar panels, and the amount of money you pay per month is less than what you're saving on electricity bills. So you're always coming out ahead. The third option is a payment over time plan, where it's your payment per month is not less than your electricity bill, but it just stretches a little bit rather than having to pay everything at once. Something else we were thinking of for revenue is maintenance packages. This is something our mentor Jesse Carpenter talked a lot about. He's from GE Wind, and they make a lot of money by selling maintenance to the large wind turbines as a subscription type of service. And that's another thing that we would like to do with our customers. We would provide regular checkups if they wanted it. We could do full teardowns and repairs, any damage from storms, we would come and repair that kind of thing. What we have so far is we've done 30 customer interviews. A lot of the hypotheses we posited at the beginning of the 5-week program turned out to be correct. The biggest one that we found was that almost everybody would be willing to purchase a maintenance plan of some kind. A lot of people we talked to were farmers, do-it-yourself kind of guys, and they would like to be able to do a lot of the small repairs themselves, and we would only come in for the big stuff. Future customer discovery we want to do, we want to get at least 100 more interviews, and most specifically, we want to talk to people who already own residential-sized wind turbines. These are the kind of people who are going to tell us what are the issues that they had? Could the buying process be more streamlined? Where did they hear about it? Why did they choose it? All that kind of thing that we're not going to get from talking to people who don't already own one. Some of the sales strategy we want to do is talk to people who are interested with either print or online newsletters, reasonably infrequent, so people don't basically just get annoyed with how often they're being contacted. And the big thing is word of mouth between customers. After we get a couple initial buyers, we can offer large, couple $100 discounts is, if you refer your friend and they buy one, here's $500 cash back, easy peasy. We want online ads on relevant searches, mainly because a lot of the people who are ecologically conscious are younger people. Younger people use the internet more often, and that's why we want to really hit that demographic. Additionally, we want to go to home shows, because as Gurjeet said, we want to make this, we want to make it pretty. We want to make it something that you would be proud of having it on top of your house or in your backyard. So going to home shows, showing this off to builders, people who are making subdivisions, that's something where we could get quite a few sales possibly. The team. Gurjeet, he is our entrepreneurial lead. I'm the design lead. Nicholas Carey could not be with us tonight, but he is the technical lead. Our academic lead, Michael Cowter, sitting with in the audience, and Miguel Santos is the man who originally had an idea for a wind generator that would move parallel to the wind rather than perpendicular. And we've been altering and improving on his design ever since. Some of the financials we're doing, just doing from a top down, as Gurjeet said earlier, $104 million were sold in 2008. That's, a little bit out of date, but that's the latest information that was available to us. Some of the strengths we have over competitors are, we believe our design is going to be cheaper per watt. We think it's going to last longer. And we want to amplify these strengths by basically advertising is, why would you buy their WindMax 4000 when our WindMax 5000 is cheaper, it's stronger, it's looks nicer. Our biggest weakness is, as with all startups, it's not an old product. People haven't heard of it. People don't trust it. You see a picture online, an advertisement, and why would you care? You've never heard of it before, so you go on past. Something we want to round this out by is we really want to, after we get a couple people to buy this, we can use their testimony to our advantage of this is, not only do we say it's good, but don't trust us. Listen to him. He already has one, and he'll tell you why it's good. Something that's not on here, unfortunately, we had a bit of a bottom-up analysis. We wanted to have a flagship product around a 10 kilowatt generator, which is a little bit larger than the average solar installation. We wanted that less than $20,000. $20,000 is the total price, but we want Uncle Sam to pay for a lot of that. Tax breaks, government incentives, a lot of that will bring down the price. Although that could be going away soon, that's why we want to capitalize on this quickly. We were hoping for 70 of that, around $20,000 final price. We go 70% is our all-in cost to produce, making around a 30% profit.
So our main competition right now is going to be the existing solar companies, because solar has been around for a little longer than wind power is, and it's more of a publicly known thing. And so we have Solar City, it's not there, but most of our competition comes from solar companies. There's also emerging wind power companies. So Wind Power Energy is another startup that's creating a wind energy device based on similar principle of using the airfoil. So we have a lot of people trying to create new devices based on this concept, and it looks like they're going to be an emerging competition in the market. So for our investment and use of funds, we hope to raise at least $300,000 for the first phase, and we want to use that for rapid prototyping and optimizing the production of electricity that the generator creates. And we also want to develop a full-scale working model to put on top of the Folsom Library, or we also got a 2 acres land field from someone that asked us to use that field for research, so we might be able to get some real-time data from real fields to help us better optimize how much energy we can produce. And we also want to focus more on customer discovery, and including mostly our existing wind farms or wind people with small wind turbines that already own them, to see how they would react to a new kind of device coming out, or how would they want another device, or how it serves them so far. We also want to develop a master plan for manufacturing and advertising, because the main from our mentor, he told us that the main thing with wind turbines is the maintenance, because if it spins, it gathers up dirt, has a lot of issues with the maintenance of the gears and the little things. So we also need to look into how to make the manufacturing stronger and cheaper so that we don't drive up the cost enough that we're not in the competition anymore. And lastly, we want to hire experienced sales staff, because without experienced sales staff, we can't really launch a successful product to sell. So for the sales, we need to spend some money on hiring people to sell.
Any questions?
So have you thought of like a Kickstarter campaign to get it out there better? And what about like small businesses that could use, savings?
Yeah, we have been, so we're in the phase right now that we want to test it in the wind tunnel at RPI. So once we gather some more data on how much it produces, so we can have some sort of type of data. We have CFD data that shows that it can spin and it works, the principles are working, but we also want some real data to see how much energy we can produce, to just have an estimate so people would actually be interested in seeing what they can get out of it.
As for small businesses, we've talked to several, but most of them are farms or breweries, areas that are in more rural areas already, as opposed to small cities.
Have you thought about partnering with battery storage, like a Tesla battery or something, so for windy nights you can pick up some energy and use quieter days?
Yeah, we've been thinking about that, and that's definitely something we want to look more into.
Yeah.
Package deal would be good.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
talk to people, and based on the design, people either want something that they can't see or something that's in the house and not dangerous.
The battery,
So,
that is.
yeah, the Tesla battery looks better, and it's not something that can easily explode, I guess, because one customer we talked to, she was scared that batteries explode, so she wanted something that was safe in the house or either not noticeable outside.
Guys, just a comment, if you continue to pursue, certainly stop by, I can give you a lot more market information that would be of interest. And NYSERDA, I think Small Wind has a reputation. So when you go forward, getting your output data is going to be real important. And, figuring out the best locales for installation.
Thank you.
How's this thing work in snow? Like, it looks like it's up on top to where the action is.
We had this, so it's covered. So we're creating something to put on top of cell towers. So it's gonna be like a disc on the top and disc on the bottom that prevents it from the snow.
Oh, okay.
So it's guarded pretty much.
So which pricing strategy was validated or invalidated in your customer interviews? You put 3 up there. You said that they liked the idea of maintenance, but were they looking for a purchase, lease?
It was split fairly evenly, but most people enjoyed, if I had to pick one as the leading one, I would say the leasing it for less than the cost of electricity.
Good stuff, guys. All right. Just for the audience, one of the things that we told the teams to do is to, request funding. So this whole thing is a whole exercise in, giving pitches to people and stuff like that. And one of the things that you're ultimately going to need to do is get money from somebody. So even though they may be premature of actually going to get investment money, it's good practice for everybody to get into to ask for cash over. So let's go.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacob Livingston. I'm a junior business major at Skidmore College, and I have been studying the lip balm market. At first, actually for the last 5 weeks, besides the 3 days past, I was planning on introducing a wooden lip balm container in the market. And I was directing all my research at trying to understand, which customers would be willing to buy that and why. And the more that I studied the market, the more that I realized that perhaps that wasn't the right way to go. The story that basically inspired me to get involved in the lip balm market in the first place is a story of the company EOS. And I'm sure that most of the room is familiar with the egg-shaped lip balm products, which have been prevalent for the past maybe more over 5 years. The company introduced the products in the late 2000s. And they basically had this insight that you can see up here. There's a thesis up there, and then there's something a little longer that really goes into detail about why they did it. But they realized, these consumers don't really have an option to express themselves. They don't have an option to do something fun with a product that all of them are using every day in public. And so what I realized when I was working on my wooden lip balm idea was that I wanted to mimic the strategy of EOS, find that insight in the market, capitalize on it, and introduce it to mainstream. But my product was a niche product. And so this idea is very new. I'm really interested in getting feedback on it. It is very different from my old project, but
Can I just interrupt and say, he pivoted. That was beautiful. We celebrate pivots in this because, you come up with an idea at first, you're in love with it, you think this is the greatest thing ever. It takes strength to say, uh-oh, screw it, I'm gonna do something different. So good job.
Thanks.
Had to say that.
So this is the idea that I went with because I finally found a value proposition that I was confident with, a true way to differentiate the product. So this is a product. It's a stackable lip balm container. So they're mini lip balms that come in packs of 3. They're targeted at preteens and age range maybe 11 to 14. You can use them individually. The idea would be that when you stack them on top of each other in a group of 3, you can still use the container maybe with like a spring push function. So it works individually as miniatures and they work together as well. And hopefully they would be like a fun sensory experience, just like EOS was. That was part of the way that they broke into the market, which was that their container, they really focused on making sure that the clicking sound was really nice, that feeling the texture of it on your fingers was great, and it was just so different from anything else in the market. So one thing that you can see in the lip balm market is that it's oversaturated. And there are many different features, there's many different flavors, and there's many different brands. But the one thing that you can't do yet is you can't have one lip balm container that has 4 different flavors in it. Or most consumers aren't able to own maybe all 15 flavors of a brand that they're interested in owning. So that would be the problem that we're solving for younger consumers who would hopefully be a more targeted market, a market that doesn't have one product to capture it. Whereas a company like Burt's Bees, they have entirely captured the market of consumers who are interested in natural products. And EOS is for more mature customers. Of course, they're still capturing some of the younger preteen market, but lip balm sales by EOS tend to skew towards getting older, like high school, college, adult women as well. So the interest would be in targeting women, possibly from 6th grade to 9th grade, maybe more specifically just middle school. And so that would probably be about half the people here. And not all of them, of course, are going to switch to this lip balm, but this is the market that we're looking at and trying to zoom in from here. And I put some examples of products that are similar, the most similar products that I could find on the market right now. So there's that stackable lip balm, which is very different from what I'm doing. Those are just sort of tins of lip balm that are on top of each other, but they don't have any of the experience features that this lip balm would have. And this is the closest thing that was put out by a big company, which was Revlon. And that is a lip gloss, which I could not find much information about it, but that's something that I'm interested in looking into and finding out more information about the success or failure of that product. And this is Chapstick's most recent invention, and we think, because this idea was for the past 5 weeks I've been working alone, but I've been talking with friends about it, and I came up with this idea with a friend. So at this point, I have a team member who's not here because he just joined the team a couple days ago. But this is something that we're doing together, and we believe that this is an example of how the worst way to implement this idea, because this doesn't really provide much value to the consumer. It's not cute. We want a product like in this original slide that I have, where we have the co-founder saying, we want a product that speaks for itself. We want a product that these younger women are going to see in the stores, and they're going to see their friends having it, and they want to touch it. They want to see what it's like. So this talks a little bit about some of the, some of the ways that we're thinking that this product would be valuable to consumers. So one major part of it would be hoping that it would become something that people are trying to collect. So there's a wide range of flavors, and they're trying to accumulate as many flavors as possible. And whereas in the past it was never, you can't, a 12-year-old can't afford to buy 20 Burt's Bees lip balms. No parent is going to buy that for them. But when they have 3 mini lip balms with 3 different flavors for the same price as, maybe a little more expensive than a chapstick product, then it's going to be much more affordable for them to acquire all these flavors. And another dimension of this product that we've been thinking about is making it, really enhancing the collectible aspect of it, and making different levels of rareness for the flavors. So there will be the mainstream flavors that come in a transparent case, and then there will be opaque cases where it's sort of like trading cards or something like that, where you can't see what you're getting and you're buying it because you want to attain that sought after trait. And of course, the implementation of this is going to rely very heavily on being able to get this product on the shelves of the mainstream retailer. We don't think that this is a type of product that would work from selling online. We really think that people have to see the product in the store, be able to pick it up and maybe read a little bit about it. Like, what's that? Like, I don't understand. They interlock with each other, and they really need a chance to get a look at it. And it's important because we're thinking that this is going to, the way that we would introduce this product to the market would hopefully be back to school sales, so that whenever we would be introducing it, that's the way that we would introduce it to those middle schools. They maybe go shopping with their parents or with their friends, and when they come to school, that's when we start the snowball of this new product. So another important thing that we've been thinking about is the fact that we can't make this lip balm, for kids. This isn't a toy for kids. This is like a fun social experience for, growing young women. So, we don't want this to be like a neon, like shimmery pink color. We want it to have some of the attributes of more mature, established lip balm brands, because those are also the types of brands that women that age, preteens, those are the types of brands that they want. They want those, they want fun. They also want that aspirational thing, that thing that makes them feel like they're older than they are. So this is a team right now. This is my close friend who just joined and who is primarily responsible for the idea itself, for helping me pivot from the wooden lip balm container. And this is a man in the local community, in the local community around my college, who runs a vintage reclaimed flooring and lumber retailer. And he also co-founded a restaurant in the area with his girlfriend. So I've been working with him in terms of just trying to really go over the market and find that, find those insights and capitalize on those insights, because it is such a saturated market. We wouldn't want to go after an established brand that has a completely different brand identity. So something like Burt's Bees, we don't think that we're going to be taking sales from Burt's Bees. We think that we're going to be taking sales from these type of brands. Maybe these mini Vaseline containers that people are buying because they're cute, and now we have these miniatures as well, and we hope to make them even more fun to handle. And that's an example of a brand. The way that it's marketed, you can tell that they're trying to capture a younger audience as well. And we want to give this product to these preteens and say, you don't want that. You want something that allows you to express yourself. You get to customize it. You get to do whatever you want with this. You've got 15 of these on your bedside table, and before you go into school today, you get to choose mango, pineapple, and grape. And maybe tomorrow you want 3 different flavors. So this is another quote from the co-founder of EOS, and he is talking about the fact that basically the thing that allowed their company to be, I mean, there's many things that allowed their company to be so successful, but he really emphasizes the fact that they had, really great patent protection, and people tried to come at them. It wasn't the big brands who were trying to come at them. It was these smaller brands, these private labels, and they had to spend a lot of money fending them off. So in terms of next steps, besides a ton of additional market research, this is one thing that we're really thinking about and seeing, if it's possible to get a patent or intent to patent or whatever we can do with that. And we also think that this product would be great for holidays, for Christmas time, for parents and grandparents getting something fun for their kids, especially if they've heard about this. If it's a trend, that tends to be the type of thing. Maybe they come into a store asking, what are 12-year-olds interested in right now? Oh, well, this is the hot item. And so we're hoping that, we're going to try and take advantage of these, of trying, whenever we launch it, we're really going to try and make sure that we push hard during the fall and really capitalize on that Christmas time. That's the idea. And so I'm really interested in the feedback that you all have, and thank you for listening to that presentation.
Looks great, very exciting. Speaking of your first idea though, I think, and now stealing customers from Birdspace, I think one of the things is like a container to keep in mind that a lot of your customers, at least what you project now, are pretty young and their parents are buying stuff for them. And their parents might be those pesky millennials who are really on natural stuff. And, I wouldn't be happy with my kid using some chemical crap. And, I'll settle down with Birdspace if I'm not sure about the product I'm buying for them. So, maybe natural is still in your book just to appease the parents. And another design notion, also speaking of younger audience, so you mentioned those Vaseline containers. And again, would I ever want my kid to put their dirty fingers in the container and then smother it in their lips? I don't trust myself to do something.
Oh, it would be, sorry, was I unclear? It's supposed to be an applicator directly.
I wasn't exactly sure about that.
Okay, yeah, so
just want more consideration.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like that you brought up the fact that it should be all natural, because that's actually something that I missed in the PowerPoint, but it's really important because this is one insight that I found that I was really surprised about from my market research, which is that consumers not once mentioned the fact that EOS is an organic lip balm, and they tended to have associations with the trendiness of the product, the fun experience of the product. But even though for the past 8 years EOS's main product line has been organic, nobody knows that. And I think that was, even though they have a great story and they were a really successful company, that was a huge failure, because they, now Burt's Bees is getting to capitalize on that more and more, and this trend is continuing for all natural products. So that's definitely a big issue for figuring out how do we get all natural while still having this brand identity that's a fun social sort of experience.
Yeah, and totally great point on collectibles. I mean, you just saw my collection of collectible lipsticks, and I'm grown up. I'm not supposed to be susceptible to that. And another thing, what I noticed with younger kids, if they find one brand they like, they develop total blindness. They're gonna buy everything which is the same brand. So if you really manage to build it up, you can definitely expand it to, eyeshadow palettes, whatever. Even if they're not coming in such a cool package, then it might be designed similar.
So I really like your idea. I was letting my mind wander while I was looking, listening to your presentation, and I was thinking what you're really selling is some very cool containers. And I wasn't really sure why you chose lip balm for preteen girls. I have a bunch of grandchildren who are and they're young, but they're very interested in all kinds of superheroes. And I was letting my mind wander, and I was thinking, what you're selling is a really cool container. And maybe you could have a whole, using your lip balm as an example, you could have lipstick for preteen girls and eyeshadow and, different kinds of makeups. But it sounded like it's more about the container and, how cool it is and how neat it would be to collect it.
Yeah, definitely. It's trying to capitalize on the fact that this is like a beauty product that's used in public. So hopefully, they're going to be taking it out a lot during the day, and other people are going to see them using it. So, that definitely makes sense. You're right. It is completely about about the container. So anywhere, any avenue for an interesting container is definitely.
We gotta cut it off there. Okay. Solar siding. This is perfect because the lip balm has UV protection in it. So it's scientifically designed to maximize ear protection.
Do you want to look at the slides that are coming up?
All right.
All right. Well, I'm Duncan, and this is Mike, and we are Team Solar Siding. And so, starting off, just with our value proposition here, for architects and property owners seeking a more flexible and cost-effective means to being greener, solar siding is a facade cladding that, unlike any building integrated photovoltaic solution, is not limited by the size and shape of a solar panel. So here we have some typical building integrated photovoltaic solutions, and you can see that they look fancy, but it's really just solar panels, and they're fitted to the buildings, but it's almost forced in a way because if you're an architect, dealing with this is a huge project a lot of times, and so if we're looking at just some of the forms of traditional solar, right? They all have just this very common theme. They all have to point towards the sun, and they're all uniformly in one direction. And so here we have garage top, ground mount, rooftop, and then a carport over here, and it's all just a very similar thing. So for an architect, dealing with that is difficult, especially when you consider that architects already need to deal with the sun. They need to be able to effectively use shade surfaces to create an energy efficient building. They need to create a pleasant experience for the customer. And so what we believe we're offering here is a better way of playing up to an architect's strengths, and not having to rely on this uniformly facing panel.
So what we're trying to stress here is that even though some of these solar solutions look quite innovative, they are still based on the solar panel. And all of these buildings that we have here are what are called building integrated photovoltaics, or BIPV. But what they really are just clever ways to put a solar panel on a building. And so it's not really as innovative as it looks. And so through our customer interviews, what we found is that architects and architecture and engineering firms often have to consult externally and pay folks to design and install solar panel systems, even in building integrated photovoltaics. And so the real issue here is that there isn't really an architect-friendly solar option that's out there. So what our option really is more of a facade material, and you can think of it less like a solar panel. And if you look at the global facade market, it's a very large market. It's over $180 billion per year. But if you then just look at the building integrated photovoltaic, which is really the market that we're looking to disrupt, that market is estimated at about $2.4 billion per year. The interesting thing, though, is that market is expected to grow at over 10%, actually close to 16% per year. So in 2024, that market is expected to be over $30 billion. Of that, though, interestingly, and what supports our hypothesis that most of this is just solar panels still, is that more than 60% of the building integrated photovoltaics that exist today are still just roof-mounted solar systems. All right? So only about 39% of that actually use the sunlight that reaches the walls of a building. And in some cases, the walls of the building actually have more surface area than the roof itself. And so if you take that 39% out of the building the building integrated photovoltaics, you see that the wall is about $936 million per year. And so this is our initial look at our market size. So what the solution is, it's really a replacement for either two things. First, over here you see some type of building facade cladding that attaches to cinder block buildings. If you've ever been to this Walmart, for instance, in Brunswick, that is a cinder block building. If people are looking for a nice exterior finish, they actually put on some type of anchoring system, and then they put a facade cladding on that. So we're looking to actually replace this panel that's put right there. The alternative is something on glass buildings, and it's called spandrel paneling. And these are panels that are glass that you can't see through. They hide ductwork and the floor sides, and they hide all the stuff you don't want to see, essentially. All right, so we're looking to create something that can replace either one of those. And so our solution looks like this. Our solution is fundamentally something called a luminescent solar concentrator. But this, you can imagine, is actually very similar in size to a regular ceramic tile that you would put as a facade cladding or one of these spandrel panels. So the solution, if you look at this and we zoom in, you can see that there's this wedge shape here, and it also is red. If you take out that wedge shape and look at it, what's actually in there is a luminescent phosphor film. It takes short wavelength light and shifts it to longer, and then it also internally concentrates it where it's concentrated onto a solar cell. Red light is actually more efficiently produced in a solar cell, and this thing acts to concentrate the light. So you get more efficient use of concentrated light, and this is all in a building material that looks similar to what might exist already. And so this is just one vision in SketchUp of what a spandrel paneling may look like if this was put on a building.
And then so looking at our revenue model, typically with solar, there's going to be kind of three main forms of income. So one is just direct product sales, selling siding to customers. But a lot of times, you can be selling a ton of solar, and so people don't necessarily have the upfront ability to be able to handle that cost. And so what plays a large role, especially with larger commercial installations, is power purchase agreements. And so instead of shelling out a ton of money for this thing, you can just, instead of paying your utility bill, you can pay a tiny utility bill and then a solar bill. And then additionally, installation and maintenance will need to be in constant communication with architects and building contractors during the installation process. And additionally, we'll need to be able to maintain these systems as they'll be up there for at least 20 years. And so what we were initially thinking when we started 5 weeks ago is that we were looking at agricultural businesses, because farmers have really large structures and they also can use a lot of energy. I mean, especially farmers with livestock, maintaining that. You got refrigeration, you have all of these different energy uses associated with that. And additionally, especially in New York, there's really great government grants for agricultural businesses.
And if we look at our other customer segment, commercial buildings, we initially thought that a lot of commercial buildings actually don't utilize rooftop solar, but a good substitute where our product could go is something called unitized curtain wall, or more specifically, some type of facade cladding. And what's unique about our product is we thought potentially you could use tax incentives to pay for a building siding material, which is an option that actually doesn't really exist right now. So if you're looking to resurface your home or building, you could actually use tax incentives to help you pay for that, which would reduce the initial cost to you.
And so what we realized with these agricultural businesses is that there are definitely many grants that exist, but a lot of the buildings in agriculture are really old and they have historical value. And so messing with those buildings is not always something that farmers are comfortable with. And then also, agriculture businesses have a lot of space. So, as you can see here, there's a lot of space for a ground mounted system right there. So, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing for them to have ground mounted systems.
And when it goes to the commercial building sector, there's three real main points that we learned from our customer interviews. The first is that there are impending net zero energy laws that are going into effect. Currently, they'll start in California, but they're actually in the European Union as well. And these are going to place demands on energy efficiency, really net zero energy usage out of these buildings. And so people are going to be looking for new solar solutions to put on their building. And one of the other really important things we learned is that the building life cycle starts with a request for proposals, and those proposals are given by architecture firms. So you can really get your product into a building at conception level, which gives you some leverage if you have good relationships with architects.
And so in order to kind of start contacting people, the big one is just going to trade shows. Actually, a lot of our interviews came from trade shows. So, you know, there's LEED certification holds a lot of green building conferences. There's a ton of places where architects and building contractors and kind of everybody that's working in the built environment comes to meet. And so if we can put ourselves in the middle there, that would be great. And kind of just moving forward from there. You know, if we can meet these people in person, then we can get their emails and move forward that way as more of a sort of B2B solution.
So in terms of what our plans are for the future, really we break it down into 3 stages. The first is most non-dilutive funding, and if we're being ideal here and looking at all our possible sources, the I-Corps National Program and Nexus New York Program can give us a great deal of money, starting with SBIR Phase 1 and then moving into Phase 2, which would give us a non-dilutive capital of about $1.25 million. Then we would look for funding from investors in round 1 of about $2 million to set up our manufacturing, create our first installation, and get our first customer. And then we look probably in round 2 to go closer to $10 million, where we would actually start to hire engineers and scale up manufacturing and look for our further customers after that.
And while we're doing that, some of the competition we'll be looking at is when we're looking at large commercial building materials, so that existing spandrel paneling, that's what we're looking to replace in a lot of buildings. And then moving to smaller commercial buildings, a lot of times those are going to be just built with concrete, but they'll have some sort of hardy plank, you know, built on cladding. And so we'd be looking to compete there too. And then also just existing building integrated photovoltaics. But yeah, and then, so the team, I'm Duncan Smith, I'm starting my PhD here at RPI. I worked with GE Solar, and then also Monolith Solar, just kind of dipping my toes in solar a little bit. And I came here for a 1-year master's program, and then I got stuck. And then if you want to introduce Dave.
Sure, I'm a lecturer in the main department. My research was actually in luminescent solar concentrators, which is where this idea came from. And that's our presentation. Sorry we went long.
Questions?
How much would your solution cost compared to traditional solar panels? And how would you compare that like square footage wise?
So traditional solar panels and what we're offering would probably not be even comparable in cost. So like a traditional solar panel for like a meter squared is something like $300 to $400. What we're offering would be a high-end building cladding. So we're looking at higher price
I
points.
thought you guys could save money though, because you're actually using less surface area of solar cell.
Yes, so that's all based on the price of solar cells currently. So if this new legislation passes about solar panels coming from China, we would look a lot better than that. That would essentially raise the price of solar energy over $1 per watt. But we're actually looking now, it seems like the higher end building cladding facade is really a different market, and there's a lot of customization there, and there's a lot of people looking for interesting solutions. So that seems to be maybe our initial thing until we can get scaling costs and manufacturing situated.
Gotcha.
Speaking of you talking to architects, for aesthetics of building cladding a big factor, especially if you're looking into replacing those big pretty glass panels and such. Do they have any opinion on that?
Yeah, actually, so this was the funny thing. Our prototypes are bright orange and green and yellow, which most people say is really ugly. And we showed the architects and they said, wow, those are really pretty colors. We would love to put those on a building. So we do not understand what people want to see. We'll leave it up to the architects.
We'll just have to have one set in pastels and
Yeah.
another one in like safety colors.
So, thanks, sorry to run along. So.
One more. Go ahead, Bruce. So I may have missed it, but is there an intellectual property position with the technology behind this? And the second is, who's your competition, or is there any at this point?
So there is intellectual property. We have a patent pending. We have a provisional patent in place, and we've submitted the paperwork for a patent.
In the United States or elsewhere?
It's currently in the United States, but I think now that we understand the technology better, we could extend it to a global patent. Actually, I think we could probably submit a second full patent on some new things that we figured out.
Was that figured in your costs going forward in terms of what you would need to be able to do a patent on a global scale?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I was looking for that in the slide.
No, that was not there. No, that was not there.
Okay.
Good stuff, guys. All righty. Hopper. Where'd Hopper go? There's Hopper. You want to use yours?
No.
Yeah. I hope this plays. It's in, I downloaded it. I mean, it looked like it was good.
Is this connected to the internet at all? Yeah. What I can just pull off our I formatted it in slide speed.
They can hook it up to my laptop.
Is this it?
Is it in the final folder?
It says today. Oh.
No.
Thanks in the fish tank folder.
Oh, fish tank?
Final page.
And just play it from here?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
So I'm just going to turn off the lights for mine.
Start with dance music. You do have dance music.
So, what is a smart city? ICOM defines a smart city as one that uses all the interconnected information available today to boost efficiency and overall optimize the operation. Cisco defines a smart city as one that uses information communications technology to boost efficiencies, reduce costs, and enhance the quality of life. So, what is Hopper? Well, in short, Hopper is a way to connect small bars and microbreweries with their customers in a way that's never been done before. So, if objects can be smart, streets and parking can be smart, why not bars? There are a few companies out there which have tried to do this, and some of them you may even have on your phone. The main players in the landscape are Beergram, Untapped, and Tap Hunter, with Untapped being the most popular. So what makes Hopper different? Well, the first illustrate what makes us different. We want to illustrate what everyone else is doing. So Untapped is the most popular, like I said before, and it's really for your beer nerd. You can go on there, rate your beers, see the ratings at other places, and it has a lot of, I guess, detailed features that you want to use. But drawback of Untapped, which I've read online, is it's too weighted towards ratings, and it's very text-based. And when we were out doing our customer interviews, people really lean towards Instagram and Snapchat, which are photo-based. And then you're going to see this across the other competition too. Tap Hunter is very text-based and location-based. Google Maps can do a stronger job of what they're doing. And then with Beergram, it's an app which allows you to send beer to your friends. But if not enough of your friends have the app, you can't send beer to them, and the app's pretty much obsolete. So the first thing we want to do to differentiate ourselves from competition was talk to our customers and listen. So we went to farmers markets, microbreweries, and bars, and these are the things we heard from multiple people. They don't have time to update their social media as much as they'd like. You might see them update social media every day for 3 months, then you might not hear from them for a year. Also, a common theme was they want people to come out and check their tap room.
Some of these microbreweries are located in the country, and they have a small tap room, which is really nice, but not a lot of people get the chance to check them out like they might a mainstream bar on the big street in Troy. So by listening to these desires that the customers have, we were able to compile a list of needs from things we heard routinely. So the biggest thing was easy, personalized advertisements, which goes along with faster and simple social media management. Some people do other things for a living, like some of these microbreweries and distilleries are based on farms. So like they might have a farming operation run along with the microbrewery, and they also want like effortless event organizing with collaboration, because they want to put on like tasting events very simply. They want a lot of people to come out, but they might not have a lot of time to organize the event in the best way utilizing social media. And they also want insights and user analytics to figure out what's working, like, you know, what season should I put out this flavor? One distillery we spoke to said, you know, they're trying to figure out like what type of potatoes the customers like best when they're making whatever product they're making. So we want to offer those type of insights to the customers. So the interface we designed off of the feedback is right here. We made it very photo-based and very simple. So if someone's having a few drinks, they're able to use it. That was kind of the goal we had. So in the top left corner, you'll see the events map. So you can click on there and see all the events that you're planning. This is the bar interface, by the way. Top right, you can see the images that you've been tagged in by your customers. The crawlers, like your Snapchat feed, you can see what's going on at the bars you visited before and see what your top users are using. And then fans is in the right, which are your biggest customer segments. They'll break it down for them, people that come out the most. Insights are going to be for bars that subscribe to the ads package. They can see how their ads are performing. And then trends is going to be really interesting. So when we heard that they wanted simple social media management, we figured, what if we can make the ads for them, so we just had to do a couple clicks. So if you click on trends, you can see there's different subjects. So you have beer, they're in fans, and then this right here, you click on that, and you can see the top trends in the area. So if you see pumpkin beer sales are down 10% over the last 3 weekends, maybe because of the warm weather. You know, all types of facts, outdoor bars are 45% busier. Homecoming week at UAlbany. So if they want to run an ad on Homecoming week at UAlbany, all they have to do is click here twice, and it'll go through to a checkout, and they're done. Their ad is created. And we're going to do that by making templates for them that'll use user photos that users take to send themselves personalized ads. So the user needs, they want to send beers to their friends. That's what we saw BeerGram trying to accomplish. They need a good promotion, which is going to be the first beer on us, which I'll talk about in a second. Location triggered memories, so like they can have flashbacks to kind of when they had good times at that location and bring a good bond to it. You see Facebook doing that with memories, and lots of apps are doing it. A beverage transcript, which you see in Untapped, it'll show you all the beers you've had. You can rank them. So if you tried a beer once, you really liked it, but you can't remember what it is, you can go through and find it. User create an interface to make it simple, stories, and a hop score, which is like a snap score. So this is the user interface. It's very simple. It's similar to the bar interface. Top left is hotspot, so you can see like the hottest spots around you and the events going on. The crawler, like I said before, is your Snapchat feed. History, it shows all the beers you've tried at what places, and then the number is the rank you are in the area. The bottom right are photos you've taken and photos you've been tagged in, and then the smiley face is friends. And in the top right, that's the camera, so you can take a photo quick. So if like you can't focus enough to click on one of these options, it'll save it, and then you can go through it later when you have a clearer head. But if you want to take a photo in any of these, you just hold it down, and then it's that simple. So our revenue strategy is going to be pretty simple. Starting off, we're going to charge $30 a month for the insights, which the businesses don't need. This app will be able to operate just off of users, but the bars are our customers, so we are eventually going to need them. We're going to charge $5 an ad, and then we're going to charge for impressions, which we got to figure all that out, so I didn't include it in the presentation. We're going to charge 5% for in-app sales, like sending your friend beer, and that's going to be available everywhere. So users can load the money into their account, which will charge a 5% fee on that, and then when they send their friends beer, it'll go to their friend's account, and they can load it into their bank. And then event fees, $10 per bar involved, 50 cents a user, so it's still pretty affordable, but it allows us to generate some revenue. Our big hope here is that as bars find the app more useful to run more ads, an ad runs for a day at a time. So if they're running ads 4 days a week, that starts to help the revenue climb a little bit. So the relationships we're working on is with New York State Brewers Association, which they're kind of the gatekeeper to a lot of the microbreweries. They really help you get your start when you're in New York, and if we can build a good connection with them, it'll help us get grants, it'll help us launch the app more effectively, so we're really working on that hard. And then the National Science Foundation program, which we're here with, which is making all this possible. We're working with Sienna and RPI as well through that program. And then Beer Marketer Insights, which we're looking to build a relationship with, and we're looking to attend their conference in about a week and a half. And there's going to be the top CEOs in the country, and they have all the top data, a lot of the analytics and stuff people are looking for that will really help us take our app to the next level and learn what type of data we need to collect. So the growth potential is huge. In New York, we have over 260 microbreweries. This data is from 2015, so we're probably closer to 300. It's grown astronomically since 2011. Lots of money spent, lots of barrels that are made each year. It's really a high growth field. There's over $55 million in funding available through grants for microbreweries. There's millions set aside even just for advertisements. So there's a possibility our customers only have to pay 20% of their cost in the beginning for advertisements through our app. So right now, we secured some funding through this program, which we're very thankful for, to attend some conferences and strengthen customer relationships. 6 months from now, we want to launch a beta app in the capital region and generate our first sales and maybe participate in a national program, which then we can start eyeing other locations to launch our app in. 9 months from now, we want a full New York app release because there's lots of microbreweries and bars in Brooklyn and Long Island. And we also want to start adding more advanced features to kind of be more interactive in terms of insights and user features, and possibly pursue a SBIR grant. We have to look into that. Those are really hard to get. And then we want to do a nationwide release in 12 months, start hiring employees to, just a few to work with the bars and gain data for our analytics. And then we might start incorporating new business categories such as restaurants or landmarks. So our team consists of myself, Joshua Daly, and Brian Pulowski doing customer discovery. We're both senior management majors at Siena College. Carl Apple is heading up software development, and he's really talented. He got his master's at RPI. He's very skilled, and we actually have 5 interns working with him to develop the software. Mike Hoffman's also part of the company. He helps out with legal stuff and other business operations. He got his JD from Albany Law, and he's an experienced IP lawyer. We've also been lucky to have mentors Matt Cusack, who's helped us with customer discovery, and Anthony DeBonis, who's helped us with software development, and he's from over at Troy Web. He's the head of app development. So the last thing I want to ask you, other than paying attention, that's not a 0, that's a, I forgot to take that out. But if any of you guys can help us, like if you want to be beta users or you have any microbreweries in the area in mind that can help us, can you just email the information to tryhopper@gmail.com, HOPPIR. That would be great. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Questions?
I really have very few comments other than that was an awesome presentation. Thank you.
So how are you going to get insights that pumpkin beer is down 10%?
A lot of information is available online, like there's trends, like microbreweries are big everywhere. So we're going to go for public information, and then we're going to try and work with, for the more specific area information, like we're going to try and partner with the New York State Brewers Association and then pull that data from the bigger bars in the area that have the most traffic to produce analytics like that. But in the beginning, it might be more general, like you always have homecoming this week, and then as we gain more knowledge of the industry and more connections, the data will become more specific. Anthony?
So you guys pivoted, didn't you?
Yeah. Kelly is a big part of that, so thank you, Kelly. She's been really helpful. We started off just wanting to be like a travel app for everybody, and she's kind of like, you need to be more specific, and I was a little frustrated, but then as we looked more and more at this, we got to see the opportunity. So I started interviewing more microbreweries and people.
Thanks to Kelly, you're the only 20-year-old kid going to this beer conference paid for by NSF. Thanks, Kelly. Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of happened all over time, like just little things here and there, but it was huge. Any other questions?
I like the presentation as well, and I'm wondering who your intended, the user is, the person, not the businesses, but the
end user. Probably what we're looking at right now is over 21 and maybe under 35, so 21 to 35, living in the capital region, and then eventually expand to Long Island and New York City. Because a lot of the older people, they don't have a problem with Untapped because they're not as visually oriented as some of the younger people are. So that's who we're going to target first and expand it.
One more quick one.
So you're talking about reaching a whole bunch of different customers. Do you have to have a sales force to actually do this, or are you hoping for some network viral effects, or what's your channel for really reaching out to these large groups?
We're looking to partner with the New York State Brewers Association because they know a lot of those the breweries. We're doing a lot of footwork too, going to farmers markets. I'm gonna be 21 soon, so I'm gonna try and build personal connections with some of these local breweries. I think that with a lot of these people, they're really humble and they're like farmers and really hard workers. So I think you got to reach out to them on a personal level and do the footwork. I mean, I think we're capable with the amount of people we have to visit all the people we want to use our app in the capital region, and also by partnering with the Brewers Association. If that happens, we get a lot of contact information. We have more backing, and we'd be a lot more reputable to them.
All right, let's thank him again. You need a morning after button so you can delete everything that you posted the night before, just in case.
I'll add that in. Thanks.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. All right. Let's go, man. Woohoo. Here we go.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Kapila, heading of Capture Industries is what I'm calling the company. I'm introducing the Fontan Circulatory Assist Device. It's a medical implant device, and here's a quick sort of schematic of the device inside of the human being. All right, so just quick show of hands. Who likes to jog?
Not too fun.
Okay, and how many people like to build cars or do like cool projects or build random things, hobbies? Cool. What about traveling, flying?
No.
Oh, no.
Traveling, yeah. Flying sucks.
All right, then train. I don't know. All right, who likes to be a professor? That's only probably a few. Many.
Love it, man.
Or love your job, I suppose. All right. Camping? Okay. And what about like sports? This is dodgeball, but.
Love that.
Cool. And what about like arts and dancing, tap dancing, or anything else? Music?
Sure.
All right, so sounds like at least everyone at some point like enjoys one of these things, or maybe some other things not listed here. But the point is, anything's possible. But without enough fresh blood circulating in our system, it can be difficult. I mean, we need blood to flow in our body, right? So now we get into like the difficult techie stuff. So now I introduce our human heart. This is the normal heart on the left side here. Normally you have two ventricles. Each ventricle helps in pumping your blood into your body. So one ventricle draws the blood, the old blood from your body into the heart, and the other ventricle pumps the blood out to the lungs for fresh blood oxygenation, and then it returns to the body. Now, what's called hypoplastic left heart syndrome is where you have one ventricle, in this case the left ventricle, that is deformed, so it's a congenital birth defect. And because of that, they are unable to pump as efficiently and in equal quantities as a normal person would be able to. So, what's being done now? Well, it's called a three-stage palliative surgical procedure known as Norwood. And the last stage is called Fontan. What they do there is they introduce an artificial graft where they suck all the, or not suck, they just passively direct all the old blood coming in from the body to the heart directly to the lungs for oxygenation. So it completely bypasses the heart and the need for a second ventricle to do the job. Now it does work for a lot of patients, but the problem is the patients experience 50% peak oxygen utilization. So that's half of what you and I would be able to utilize. And also additionally another 1 to 3% annual decline in oxygen utilization. So these people, they're obviously tired most of the time, fatigued. They have a lot of exercise intolerance, so bye-bye to dancing, sports, building cars, doing anything. They experience a lot of palpitations, chest discomfort. Those things are very common. And the problem is, only risky solutions are available. Heart transplant is like the primary option, and that's a 20 to 30% mortality rate, which is pretty high, and only few people qualify for that. And also it's a scarce supply chain, so it's pretty complicated. The other one is total artificial heart, which is basically putting a completely artificial mechanical heart into your system. Unfortunately, it's not there yet. There are some devices, but nothing in particular to do the job now. So, story is, these people don't have enough blood flow in their system. Now, here's my solution called the FCAD. Here's the pump, and then all the heart, the lungs, and everything. So it sits right underneath the lung and basically draws blood from the Fontan junction where the procedure is done, and then expels it into the lungs for fresh oxygenation. So this, now you can see the animation. So this bag expands and contracts. It's powered by the human body, which is cool. And so yeah, and patent is pending. I've filed for a provisional patent now. So main value proposition obviously is to improve the quality of life of these people and significantly reduce the medical and financial risks. So increase patient mobility so people can do cool things and fun things and also work, obviously. Eliminate heart transplant, or at least prolong it now, and eventually eliminate the need for it. And obviously, you want to live longer, so increase the number of years they live. And then also simplify the procedure for surgeons, because heart transplants are very complicated, and they run into issues all the time. But a simple device like this reduces those risks. And it's also less complicated than like a total artificial solution as well. Obviously, these patients will have to take fewer drugs because now they have more blood in their system being oxygenated, so they don't need as much assistance. And just less maintenance in general, and fewer side effects, which is always good. And you get to keep your money, at least most of it. So, quick estimation, around 1,000 patients with this condition are born a year in the US. And the target market is about 100 patients a year. So the revenue model, so just to clarify, this is a customized body-powered cardiac pump right there on the side. And so here's the model. So this is a company here in the middle. And then, so money flows in from insurance company, the bills get paid that way. So, but then these are two other categories. The physician is like the user, obviously installs the device. And then the patient is the end user who uses the product. But ultimately, I answer to the insurance who pays me. And obviously, it's a circle because like all of these entities interact with each other. So for validation, just to put it out there, it's an extremely uphill task to interview highly specialized people, especially in a subset of physicians such as cardiac surgeons and such. But I've conducted a number of detailed and lengthy interviews to really understand what's going on and whether what I'm trying to do is the right direction. So I have 12 interviews now, up from 5 like 2 weeks ago. And 100% of them validated the need for a device like this and the value propositions I mentioned. So I interviewed cardiologists, pediatric cardiac surgeons, pediatricians, medical device manufacturers, also insurance representatives. Future plans, obviously I need a lot more interviews, like at least 100 plus. Need a lot of feedback both from physicians and industry experts. So my market strategy is to, one, publish successful clinical results once I get those in academic journals. A lot of physicians read journals and papers and such, so that's a good way to get the word out. Also, obviously get FDA Class 3 device approval, and that's a must. So that's important. Obviously have a sales force that's talking directly to physicians. They don't like to be bombarded with emails and phone calls. They're busy as is. They're saving lives. So got to meet them in person. So I'm the entrepreneur lead and chief design engineer project. I have another fellow RPI student who's sort of consulting with me as a biomedical engineer. Professor Ashish Ghosh, who's there in the back. He's my academic lead. And Robert Berry, he's a regulatory manager at Welsh Allen, a leading medical device manufacturer. So he will be helpful in the FDA regulatory process. And Ashok Muralidharan, pediatric cardiac surgery specialist. He's be useful for the medical side. Also Stephen Anderson, who's will be helpful for the post-procedural evaluation and diagnostics in radiology. So just to give an idea, so these are like some example of companies that produce artificial valves, and that's sort of one of the critical components of my device. So here are examples. These are like the big companies out there. And then for total artificial hearts and LVADs, which are another class of pumping devices, these two companies are there, Syncardia and Thoratic. Also other institutions that are doing research, NASA, Glenn Research Center, some hospitals, also some aero universities as well, working on some elements. Obviously NSF and NIH are sources of funding and a lot of research. So as far as competition goes, so here are your options. Like these patients, they can choose to do nothing, spend no money, and then die. I don't think people want to sign up for death. Heart transplant, it's pretty hefty price just for the first year. So this includes, everything here includes the device or organ and the surgery, hospital fees, everything included. So for first year, $1.2 million. That's the cost. And then it grows as the years progress. Maintenance, drugs, easily like $20K a year for that. So it's pretty risky, it's expensive. Total artificial hearts, there are some devices, as I mentioned, on the earlier side, but they're still not in the stage for this application or many other. And there are many failed attempts, so there's no price point at this point. There are two other research devices that are targeting exactly what I'm trying to do. Obviously different approaches, so we'll have to see where that goes. My device estimate cost is around $200,000. This includes post-procedure and implantation, all that stuff. So compared to a heart transplant, that's an 80% cost reduction. And it's relatively low risk because you just don't have to deal with the complications of a whole new heart. Now for funding, so I'm intending to pursue SBIR and STTR funding as a starting point, and then NIH eventually, just because it's a niche market to begin with, and it's risky. So I need something that's not as risky as investors, I guess, or me. So for the first year, I'm requesting around $1 million to get further developed and defined product to display and test. Get from the preliminary FDA fees to file for approval, initial approval, some animal testing. And then for between year 2 and 3, obviously pay people to get some more work done. And then get FDA approval, which is the bulk of the cost. And because it's a small business, the FDA fees can be significantly reduced. And then that's about $4 million. And then between year 4 and 5, do extensive clinical trials on subject patients and do a beta launch, about $3 million for that. And then year 6, launch the product full scale and market, about less than $500,000 for that, and enter the market essentially. So any questions?
Is there any predicate device to this that you could rely on to shorten your FDA time through the 510K process?
So there is no device out there actually that does this job.
So you can't shortcut that?
No, but what I can say is potentially one component of this device could use existing technology, like such as existing heart valves that are already out there and approved. But other than that, there's not much.
Is there any co-occurrence of this disorder with renal disease? For example, did you interview any interventional radiologists? I'm wondering if there's any use for this for that type of a purpose.
Potentially, although
that's our plan for next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they will be the primary monitoring after surgery.
Yeah, Medtronics has a big hand in central venous catheter manufacturing and distribution, so they might be, and I can't remember who their partner is out on.
Yeah, so
on the Northway.
So there's no predicate device for this particular device, but there are predicate devices for the different components.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to save our time for class 2 and class 3.
So there's some 510K.
By using that predicated, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sure. Go ahead.
Is there, so actually two kind of quick questions.
Sure.
One, are there mice, rat, primate analogs to this disease that causes the ventricle to be disformed?
I'm not aware, although I do know that there are identical models, like in sheep and I think some pigs, that have been done in clinics and hospitals around, so it can be tested. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of animals, it was also my question, because I assume it's really hard to find animals with such disease, because most of the animals aren't healthy to start, we just kind of let them die. So I wonder how you find subjects for, your trials. Or do you mess with them first?
Yeah, that's a slippery slope in terms of like lives and stuff like that, and more on ethics and stuff.
It's not an ethics question.
Well,
I mean, it's just finding the animals which were pretty common.
But I'm aware, so the sergeant that I'm collaborating with, he knows some people, surgeons who developed like the Fontaine model in animal subjects. So they basically modify the animal heart to mimic the behavior of this condition.
I see, so you messed with them.
Yeah, so it's possible.
And second question, since your market here is so niche and small, we're looking at the global markets?
Yes, potentially. I'm also looking into expanding components of the technology for other uses or conditions, I would say.
Actually, global market may be a faster sell than US markets.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how the margin's gonna be, because healthcare
That's
here versus healthcare global is very different.
That's true.
That's in terms of number of patients for phase 3,
there'll be
phase
more.
2 and
Yeah.
phase 2 you can get in the global market faster than US market.
All right, one more quick question, Bruce. I just had one quick question. I noticed that you, on one of your slides, you indicated you talked to insurance reps.
Yes.
What did you learn when you talked to them?
So
and who were they? You said representatives. I'm not sure.
There were two or three people that I talked to. So there's one professional.
From the same company or different?
No, different companies.
Okay.
One of them, I don't know where they work. Isn't Mark Napier?
Yeah.
He was a former pulmonologist, so he has like medical background, and he reviews like case files for an insurance company. The other one is a professional review nurse in a West Coast insurance company. Mainly the input I got, obviously like FDA approval and rough cost of like how much they typically cover for devices like this, like a partial assist solution, which is somewhere around the figure I gave for the estimate. That's like total cost, including the procedure and everything. So that gave me a pretty good idea of like where to price.
Yeah, I was wondering if you picked up anything in terms of seeing from that perspective if there were any other sort of commercialization risks or hurdles that you would have to go through, or that the insurance companies were perceiving in order to adopt this procedure?
Right. Main thing was like getting data to prove the success of the device. That's like I heard over and over. That's like the biggest challenge is to get enough clinical data that proves the success of the device and actually shows a significant improvement over the conventional alternatives. Obviously, they're looking to save money too, but yeah.
All right, we're gonna keep rolling. Last but not least is Fab Phage.
Here we are. Thank you. Okay, guys, so this is Fab Phage, last presentation. No cool cold open, just hang in here for a little bit, and I think there's gonna be some leftover food in the back if it's getting really hard. But okay, so we're a company dedicated to using natural solutions to kill superbugs, and let's dive in with the name. So phages are macrophages, and these are essentially natural occurring ubiquitous viruses, which main purpose in life is to kill bacteria by sometimes lysing them and sometimes eating them. And phages are everywhere. Most of them, the vast majority of them, are harmless to humans. And United States had really strong culture of using antibiotics for basically everything. But in other countries, phages have been widely used to treat to treat infections, in particular resistant infections, which cannot be treated with even the most modern antibiotic solutions. Oops. So, as with many companies, we started with a problem and we looked into the problem of antibiotic resistance. What we found in the US and worldwide is a pretty grim picture. Antibiotic resistance has been on the rise for many types of common antibiotic agents. And just in the US, antibiotic-resistant infections kill 90,000 people and infect a couple of million a year. That leads to both substantial expense in treating these infections, which are much more expensive to treat and much more mortal than regular infections. And it's also a large pain for hospitals, both in terms of reputational damage, in terms of financial damage through higher costs, and in terms of financial damage through litigation, which hospitals are often subject to if someone contracts a disease in their facility. So in all the cases, we're talking about markets in the order of billions, and from the customer perspective, we also talking about a problem they currently unable to solve, which is that there are no tools to combat a specific strain of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Oops. So, as a company, we come in, and the solution we propose is to use this natural instrument, phages, to decrease the cost of controlling the spread of antibiotic-resistant bacteria in hospitals and potentially very much down the road in the food industry. As for our product primarily consists of a phage solution, which is a liquid containing phages. This liquid can be customized into a signature cocktail of phages targeting a particular drug-resistant strain. And a major novelty of our solution is that this cocktail can be applied not just in the forms of wipes or spray for surfaces, but also phages can be conjugated to hospital scrubs and other garments used in healthcare setting. This decision came to us after multiple interviews with healthcare professionals who remarked that majority of cases of infections contracted in hospitals come from breach of protocol and are basically transmitted by a person like a nurse who picked up something contaminated and then went into another room which didn't have an antibiotic-resistant infection before.
I call that a pivot, ladies and gentlemen, right there. You were first just looking at sprays and stuff like that, and then you were like, whoa, man, nobody washes these clothes the correct way, and nobody does this, they don't follow protocols the correct way, so good.
After talking to multiple physicians, I'm very afraid of people in scrubs now. If I see my boss, I just kind of like, go away. Okay, yeah, and basically, again, even reducing the healthcare-associated infections by, say, 13%, will save at around range of several millions for the hospital industry. So we're dealing with a pretty large market. So with that, I will pass it to Mike to talk about our market opportunities, all things money, all things competition.
Okay.
And a little bit about our team.
All right, so like she was saying, the direct medical costs of these hospital-acquired infections are about $30 billion. A lot of this information is just facts for numbers for you to understand how much money it costs to treat these type of antibiotic-resistant infections. Some of our potential customers are 60% of that market, so we're talking, millions of dollars that we could potentially acquire by addressing this problem. So our solution, our main solution would be the bacteriophage coated hospital scrubs, but we have other products we could also implement this technology with, that being the wipes or the sprays or the signature cocktail per se. So the signature cocktail kind of embraces the fact that we can target any type of particular antibiotic drug resistant bacteria. So our scrubs could be, MRSA type scrubs, C. diff type scrubs, whatever the hospital needs, we can address that. Also, our one of our services that we could supply is a consulting service. So we actually go into the hospitals, we test what kind of bacteria they have, and this also allows us to prove our efficacy. So after we test, we can go in, we can give them the scrubs, they can use it for a while, and we can go back again and test and see how much we've reduced their problem. So that also helps us, which a lot of companies won't do that. They will just give you the product and say, good luck, right? So we want to kind of build a relationship with our customers. So our revenue model. Yes, we're going to have these bacteriophage-based scrubs. We would like to have long-term contract services with these hospitals, and that would be great for us. That's why we want to build the relationships. We have other products that we could use in the future. We could also break into the food industry market, any kind of sanitation market. And another one of those, our service would be the testing of those strains and delivering those specific phage cocktail products. So a lot of our target customers for marketing would be hospital administrators, medical directors, hospital procurement personnel. So one of the customer interviews we had, I talked to someone who was actually selling a product in the hospital, and he told me that nobody knows who really runs the place. It's really difficult to get to the person that signs the checks. But we did some more interviews too, and so we know that there's a couple of people that kind of observe products and kind of sign off and sends it upwards. So those are the people we have to talk to. There's also a lot of issues with antibiotic-resistant infections in hospice care. So a lot of people in nursing homes who get treated and then they go to nursing homes and they develop the disease again. Also, in terms of marketing, one thing we plan to do is actually go directly to this facility. So, like I said, I went to a conference where there were vendors outside of a conference inside the hospital just giving away free trials of their products. So that's one way to do it. One way to do it is to go to professional trade shows and conferences. We participated in a program earlier in the summer. It was a big bio conference. There were a lot of people just selling their products there to a lot of high buyers. So as far as our competition goes, we ended up finding surprisingly a lot of different people in this market of disinfection, a lot of light-based companies, and surprisingly a lot of people doing phage technology, which was a little scary for us because we thought, oh wow, we thought of a great idea, but somebody else already thought of that great idea as well. And actually, so originally we wanted to do phage therapy in humans, like intravenously, but we were afraid of the FDA regulations, so we wanted to avoid that and go with the spray/wipe. But a lot of other people thought of that too, so there's some people doing phages with that, but no one has thought about the scrubs, which is where we really feel like we might be able to break into that, so we want to pursue IP immediately for that. Also, a lot of problems with these current solutions with the lights and the wipes. I talked to an infectious disease specialist who's very good and a leader in antibiotic stewardship across hospitals, and he told me, yeah, we sometimes we invest in these lights and these wipes, but it's all quote unquote BS because they can't prove their efficacy. They might it might kill something, but then it doesn't kill C. diff, so it's like it's not really solving their problem. So one thing we help with that is our testing initially to prove our efficacy. In terms of financials, we kind of did a quick prediction of what something like this might cost. We obviously haven't done the manufacturing to really understand every detail, but just looking at some minimal costs for current scrubs, we've kind of come up with some numbers. So essentially, you buy scrubs from us, and then we charge you like 20 cents to coat. And so we did some numbers about how much it costs to coat a scrub daily. We did get some numbers on how long bacteriophages last. So that's about 24 to 48 hours. So you might need to recoat every day. And so we ended up with a number. So for about a 12-month contract with the cost of the spray and the initial cost of the scrubs, you're looking at about $182,000. Minimally, we'll start at $212,000 for the first year and about $182,000 after that. And then there's also the services and the co-products. So not just scrubs, we could look into hair nets, shoes, gloves, all that type of stuff. And so a little bit about our journey. We started off, me, Diana, we have two other members too. We started off at a bio conference in San Diego, which is where we
I know, it's like...
We kind of started with an idea of combating antibiotic-resistant bacteria. When we got here, our first solution was we were thinking we were just going to use phages to eradicate MRSA in hospital. We were really specific. But the more that we talked to customers, we realized that our product could be used for a variety of facilities and treat all different types of strains, not just be so specific. Because each hospital has different specific needs. And so far we've done over 80 customer interviews in total. We still have more. We still have interviews set up with more people. But we really feel like we are going to solve this, at least solves part of the problem with these bacterial-coated phage scrubs. So our next steps with the investment and financials. We do have more interviews for customer discovery. We do need to do some more IP research. We have seen a lot of IP in terms of bacteriophage products, like sprays or like a dog bowl coated substance, but nothing for scrubs particularly. So the area of IP for phages is a little bit broad, so we can definitely find something there. And also, looking at about a year from now, or maybe, at least for the next semester, we definitely want to apply for the national grant. But a year from now, we want to have some kind of maybe minimal product launch. We are aware that we need to look into the regulations a little bit more. So one thing we found was that it's not the FDA that would probably handle our situation, it's the EPA. And so technically, our product would be classified as a pesticide. So that's another regulatory avenue we need to pursue. And OSHA will probably be involved in the CDC as well. So this is our team. We actually took this picture when we did our bio conference earlier this summer. That's me and Diana. This is Debbie and Anad. Debbie's actually a professor at the Southern Illinois University School of Medicine, and Anad is another PhD candidate in chemical engineering. Obviously, none of our team members have a specialty in phage development, so we need to hire somebody like that in the future. And if we want to pitch to investors, we need somebody from with a business background on our team. So those are a couple of our future hires. And with that, I'd like to give thanks to a couple of people that helped us out. Definitely when we started in the bio conference in San Diego, California. We've actually been in touch with those guys, and they've given us a lot of contacts for us to run some ideas across, and have been in the I-Corp's national program and have done biotech startups and actually done some stuff with phages. Also, this local site program, a lot of great mentorship from Clint and Bruce. And with that, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions from you guys. Thanks for that.
Questions?
Well, a couple things. So what do the phages need to stay alive, and what do they produce when they interact with the bacteria?
Phages are pretty good about staying alive at the range of 24 to 48 hours. Ideally, they would probably like more stable environments. So on a scrub, there's definitely gonna be simple mechanical interruption. So you shake them off or something like that. But basically, they're viruses, so they manage to survive all around. They're pretty resilient.
Are there any useful products that a phage creates when it interacts with the bacteria?
Like a byproduct or something?
Haven't thought of them, but if they coat scrubs in protective coating and poop out awesome beer, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean we haven't got into all the chemistry and the manufacturing of it all.
Maybe you really like it. Don't judge too fast.
That'll definitely be something we look into in terms of our technological development. Yes.
You mentioned testing as one of your services at several points, but you guys didn't talk a lot about what that service is and how you would do that. You're talking about efficacy.
Yeah. So we kind of just came up with this idea for testing a little while back. There's definitely people that do rapid diagnostic testing for bacterial strains in hospitals. And it kind of goes into, I think the CDC does that. The FDA might do that. They have like a data bank. We're more of the guys that go in locally, actually test things, give you the numbers, show you the numbers of what you might think you have a high strain of MRSA, but it's actually C. diff that you should be worried about. And the guy that came before didn't really show you everything you need to know. With that, then you try our product for like a year. We come back. We do it again. Now we show you the reduction and kind of understand how our product has helped you or not.
So what's the coating and recoating process? You just spray?
We've been thinking of several solutions at this point. The easiest will be spraying it from, a spray bottle. But one of the things we found in hospitals is that, again, pretty much everything bad happens because someone didn't do it well enough.
Right.
So that exposes us to a pretty high degree of human error. What if you decide to spray it twice instead of, walking around it 20 times? So we're thinking about some solutions like a cabinet to which you can put the coats and have them sprayed equally from all the sides. So semi-automated to fully automated solutions, but spray and scrubs came very late in our discovery process. As late as 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So we're definitely figuring out the details.
I like to comment on that too. So we were actually, I like to comment on that too. So we were actually talking to Bruce about something. Currently, the scrubs, they get taken off, they get washed. As a whole laundry system that takes place, right? So we would likely try to partner with the cleaning service so that after you take your scrub off, it goes to the cleaning service. It gets coated there and it comes back. So we're kind of like a subcontractor type of thing.
All right, let's wrap it up. Okay, now I gotta take a selfie, because I always do that, and then we're gonna take a family photo of all the people that were in the program. And we're not quite done with the program yet, okay, so. So in a month, at the end of November, we're gonna have at least a phone call with everybody again to get their final budget information and things like that. And I really want to try to pull off sort of a next steps sort of seminar that'll be optional for you guys about, okay, how do you apply for I-Corps National? What about the SBIRs, NIH, SBIRs, NSF? What about these other ones? Talk about follow-on funding and stuff like that. So there's a sort of a local person that we've talked to or given talks before on the SBIR process and stuff like that. So we'll see if we can arrange that, and that'll be kind of open for everybody of any cohort actually that has gone before too. So we'll do that sometime. Look for the announcements, but also look for the announcement for the final phone call just to wrap up budgets and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
So drop dead for spending.
Drop dead for spending is November 27th or something like that. So yeah, we have to wrap everything up before the end of the semester, so that's why we're trying to concentrate things. You guys have anything to add? All right, guys, it has been my pleasure to walk you through part of the Valley of Suck. You're still in it. You're still going, man. Some of the graduates are still in the Valley of Suck. Am I right? Right. It just happens, right? It goes on, but you got the tools. I hope you got resources. We're always here. If you guys need anything, long after graduation, even 10 years from now, you took a job because you couldn't do this thing, but 10 years from now, you get the itch again to be an entrepreneur. We're here for it. Listen, I don't know, Jason, I might get fired, but if I don't get fired.
Let's give our fearless leader I'm Jason Kruzich. We applied originally for the grant, Matt and I, and Clinton added on later, and he's really been the one running the program. But we're going to get judged on the number of people who want to try and go on to the national program. So definitely want to encourage that. Even if you're not sure, or if you move on to another idea, come back, back through this program. We want to kind of help you get to that next stage, and we're here for that. So.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely some techniques and skills and things like that you need to hone your pitch before you talk to the national program people. So we can help with that. We have to help with that. We want to help with that. We want to get you guys all set up. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hope it was fun.
Thank you.
All right. For the participants, come up here. We'll get our picture taken in front of this. If somebody's got a camera.
Also spread the word to other researchers who might want to do it next semester.
Yeah, definitely.